Om Shanti. Shambho Mahadev, 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 Mahadev. So the discussion was on that mantras of Atharva and Angira. So those Deva Ede Atharvangirasaha Edati Itihasa Purana Abhyattapam Astasyapi Taptasya Yashastejah Indriyam Viryamanaktyah Raso Ajayatah. So Arthavangirasaha, that Atharva and Angirasa. The mantra seen by that. Edaditi heated up this Itihasa Puranabhyaha Taptaha. Heated up this Itihasa and Purana. From that which is heated up issued the juices of Yashas, Tejaha, that is fame, lustre, vigor of organs, and strength and eatable food, Virya Manadhya, Raso Ajayata. The rasa of all this is taken place like in the same as the last shlokas. The itihasa, the description of the word itihasa means books containing Vedic anecdotes illustrating virtues, prosperity, enjoyment and liberation. Purana comprises of the Vedic stories, mythological, about primary and secondary creations, cycles of changes in creation and history of the dynasties. These are the classification of the Itihasa and Purana, they said, cycles, changes in creation. So these explanations of the Vedic Itihasa and Purana was necessary for the person who was explaining these principles, because many of these are like he said about, even though the basic principle is based on the Vedic text, Vedic anecdotes, but in Itihasa is that which has actually happened, it's a history, it has happened. Whereas in the Purana, there are a lot of mythological additions have been given for the purpose of making the people understand it the right way. The principles, because the true principles as it is very difficult to understand because they are sutras. And unless an explanation or even stories, fictitious, created story, fiction, a created story is not made, it is not possible, is why the 18 Puranas have been created. It was, when you look into the Purana, when you take the gist of it, it is nothing but Veda, it is nothing but Upanishad. But the Jnanam from those have to be derived through the stories, should be done, in fact. Now what happened was, gradually and only Puranas, the stories have become important, the principles have become unimportant. That should not happen. It has been created, the story has been created for the purpose of the principles of the Upanishad, Jnanam, Vedic Jnanam, so that one follows those principles. So to accommodate those principles, certain Maharishis thought that it will not be palatable for the normal mind to perceive it, so they created those Puranas. Basic principle of the Puranas are nothing but the Vedic science, nothing other than that. But only thing, it has to be derived out of it, you see. That's the thing. See, from the milk you draw curds, from the curd you take butter, from butter you take ghee, like that. It has to be, by looking at milk we cannot decide whether the ghee can be taken from that. It has to be a gradual process. Now this has to be understood. If that is not practically and clearly understood, then there are confusions. That is why there are lots of misunderstandings on the Vedic science. Everything is based on Vedic science. Everything is Vedic science, nothing other than that. But that has to be clearly understood. So that's why in Upanishad what happened? Like Vedas have been, as I told you in the last class also, it is divided into 4 parts of it. One is Vedanga. To go into the details of the Vedic science through the Vedanga, the gist of Vedas can be understood straight away, where a straight approach to the Brahman is created. Then they created Brahmanas, which created the Yajnas. Through the Yajnas they try to understand these things. Then they create the Aranyakas, and through Aranyakas they created the Tapa. Through Tapa they identified the Brahman. Then the Upanishad, that is that the absolute Jnanam. Upanishad is that absolute Jnanam of the Vedas. So through Jnanam they identified this. Like that they have divided. So these have been put into Itihasa and Purana. So here in this case what they say, that is also that from the 3 different Vedas and various different, here in the Atharva as well as the Angira. Angira means the Puranas. Where the Angira, the Puranas, from the Jnanam, the derived out of it is taken, and the gist of it, the juice of it, the rasa, raso ajayata. This rasa, ajayata rasa, is taken towards the northern side of through the northern side of the race. That means on one side of it. Now whatever said and done, people who are approaching directly through the eastern, which is direct, is taken directly into it. But it has got a lot of difficulties to understand the Jnanam. So when it is directly taken, it is much easier, much earlier. When the sun rises from the east, it is visible from the east much earlier than when it is than for the people in the south and the north and the west. So for them it takes time. Similarly, if the jnana, the meaning of that comes somewhere, the discussion comes somewhere, the principle is that it's not that one has to live in the east. One has to approach the Brahman directly is the most beneficial thing. Now the ones who cannot do it, they take through the southern race, that means delayed process of, that means via media, through delayed process. Through northern race, another delayed process. Through western race, other delayed process. So from the other areas when it is taken, it's all the delayed process. So through the delayed process, you will be able to see light only later. Now when you are in the east, the sun, the brightness in the morning, it is 5 o'clock and all, it is very bright. When you go to west or when you go to north, when you go to other places, you will find the brightness comes only after 6 o'clock, somewhere after 7 o'clock, somewhere, some 6:30. It is not at 5 in any case. So where the brightness, that means you get the brightness much earlier when, if you are directly where the rising sun is there. That means where the jnanam is there provided. Absolute jnanam is provided directly. If you can have the perseverance capacity and determination to that, so to be closer to that eastern part, or to be closer to that rising sun, or to be closer to that absolute jnanam, then you will be in a position to attain it much faster than you attaining through. Well, if there is no other way, you attain it through. That is the meaning, that how deeply he has gone into dividing it into four parts, four dishas, and then accumulating through the rays and going to the southern side and accumulating through the northern side and accumulating, and then trying to understand this through the Rigveda, Samaveda, Yajurveda and Atharva. Tadyakshara tatyadityam abhito ashrayat tatyajna edatyatadedadadityas adityasya param krishnam rupam iti chaturtha khanda. This also in the it flowed profusely. Tadyaksharam attadadityam abhito ashrayat tadva, profusely settled on the side of the sun, that indeed is that which is deep black appearance of the sun. On this side of the sun it has accumulated, that what we have discussed it. Etat iti chaturtha khanda samapta. The fourth section is finished. Now in the third chapter, fifth section, 3, 5, 1. अथ ये अस्यो ऊर्ध्वा रेश्मेस्ता एवास्यो ऊर्ध्वा मधुनाड्यो गुह्या एवादेशमधुकृतो ब्रह्म एव पुष्पं तामृता आपाम्. Now he is discussing, now we were discussing about the four sides. Now he says urdhva, directly up. The rays which are going up, those which are going upwards, themselves are in the upper honey cells. The secret injections are that which is of beam, and that Om indeed is the flower. Those waters are the nectars. Here, the push is Om. Urdhvam, going up, the light which is going up. Generally, people are who are in the earth, they are only getting the one which is the down one. The urja that is going up, they are much above, in a different level of the status. There the benefits that is derived from those urja or the rays from the sun that is going, the rays are the secret injunctions. They are the secret injunctions. What is it carrying there towards up is that his Om is from the flower called Om, Omkaram, which is everything. The speech has come from that, the sound has come from that, the creation has come from that. So, from that which is infinite, which is not known, is the Urdhva Rashmi. So, from that Pushpa is the one, the Urdhva Rashmi is taken. So that goes to the Devatas, the ones who are living in a dharmic life, have led the dharmic life, had been living only in dharma, without any of the negativities of those kama, krodha, loga, moha, mada, matsarya. They are living in a dharmic way of living. Those are called Devatas. Those Devatas are the virtues. They are the ones to provide happiness and the results of the karmas to the universe, to the world of the karmis. So they derive the benefit out of the Urdhva Rashmi, that is from the Om, from the Pushpa. From the different flowers, what we have seen from all the other sides, all the other three Vedas, all the four Vedas, so that they derive that particular jnanam through the particular Pushpa, through the particular Rashmi, through the particular side of the total jnanam, which is known as the sun brightness. Here it is the urdhvam that is going upwards, which is absolutely important. Why? Because everything is below that, and the ones which are above is much auspicious, and those auspicious which are known as the Devatas, who are to function, who are to support the Jivatmas when the yajna being done, they also have to survive. The Devatas are surviving because of the karma phalas of the others, they derive the results out of it. Those results are directly taken by the devatas in the sense, not the ones who are living somewhere in the different world. This also can be understood in the different way, that in each and every one there is a devata and the asura. So those Brahma karmas, or the karmas which are without expectations of the results, or those karmas which is executed dharmically and exhausted them, will be enjoyed by the devatas in him. So those devatas are that enjoyment that he derives is from that pushpa Om, which is called the absolute jnanam. Om is an absolute jnanam. He derives the devata in him, he derives the absolute jnanam through the Om from the Urdhva Rashmi. That means Urdhva Rashmi also is known as from the Kundalini awakening to the Sahasra Chakra is also Urdhva Rashmi, going upwards. That's why when the Kundalini awakens, this Urdhva Rashmi will travel through the Sushumna and then travels to the absolute, the Sahasra, which is where the static energy is there, where the Purusha is there, where the absolute Jnanam is there. So this deriving, that means from the tapasya, from the tapaha, from tapasya, what happens from the experiences in the world, the Mooladharam, which is absolutely attracted towards the earth, where the absolute execution of karmas are being done, when the attachment and attraction towards the karma phalas are not there, then only when one lives dharmically, when he does the tapasya, after complete renunciation, and when he does the total renunciation, then only in the tapasya the Kundalini energy awakens. Otherwise, it doesn't awaken. When it is attracted and attached to the earthly feelings, earthly enjoyments, earthly attractions, that is why it is known as the earthly attractions. Earthly attractions in the sense attractions which is there in the karmic world. It is not necessary it has to be earth. Let us not misunderstand that. It is not necessary it has to be earth, it has to be wherever you execute a karma with an attraction and attachment is known as earthly attraction, earthly attachment. Since we are standing, our position is like that we are stationary on the earth, so we call it as earthly. It doesn't mean that Bhumi is the only one which has got the Karma Bhumi, even though we call it as Karma Bhumi, is not only the area which is Karma Bhumi. For Devatas, it is some other world which is known as the Karma Bhumi. Bhumi means what? Which is the substratum. That's all. It is not that earth. So, the ones who are attracted to or attached to the worldly, the worldly matters, the worldly pleasures that attraction, attachment and desires, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, and also enjoying the results of them. They are the ones who have got the Kundalini energy which is attracted to the down, not the up. So here we are discussing about the Urdhvam. In order to go up, how the Kundalini has been created? The Kundalini has been created because of the attractions and attachments. The Kundalini is at the bottom. Now for the Urdhva Rashmis, for the Devatas, who are the Devatas? The one who are living in the dharmic way of life is called Devatas. Even one human being who is living in dharmically as a noble man, he is the Devata, equivalent to Devata. We call it as equivalent to God. That's why he is equivalent to God. Even though he has got Sharira, he has got Mana, he is also having the actions, but he doesn't have any reactions. He does the actions, but he doesn't enjoy the fruits of the actions that he is doing. Why? Because this is evaporated through the Urdhva Rashmi without enjoying them. Those which are being enjoyed will be enjoyed by the Mooladhara Chakra, Mooladhara, where the Kundalini is there, and the Sharira and Mana is able to enjoy that what is abstract, what has been derived from the Kundalini or has come into the Kundalini. Now when in the Urdhva Rashmi what happens is that When a person renounces everything and goes into the tapasya and dhyanam, automatically the kundalini is detached from the worldly functions where the attractions and attachments are there and the desires are there. They get a detachment from that. The moment it is detached from all these attractions and attachments and desires, the kundalini awakens, because it doesn't have any job there. When it is awakens, which is known as the Urdhva Rashmi, again, see. So the deriving of the Urdhva Rashmi and who attains it? The Sahasra attains it. Who is that? The one who is absolute jnanam. The one who is an absolute jnani, the one who is not attaching itself into the results of execution of karmas by the Pancha Pranas in the universe, he is known as a Devata. So his enjoyment is only by deriving the result of the jnanam through execution, from the execution of the experimental experience as well as experienced experience, which is known as in totality, which is known as Om, which is a Pushpa, because it's the Omkara which is the basis of everything. So from which this is derived, from these Rashmis are deriving the Jnanam from that through the Urdhva Rashmi, through Sushumna. When it goes to the Sahasra, that means to the Devata, it is absolutely pure Jnanam. Of the absolute Jnanam from the Om is why it is known as the Urdhva Rashmi. The same principle is happening in the outside the body as well as inside the body. So we have compared in the inside the body. Same thing happens in the external body. So the Jivatmas experiencing will accumulate and travel towards the Urdhva Rashmi, towards the Paramatma, which is known as the absolute Jnanam, derives the results out of it, and being taken is why the Urdhva Rashmi has got importance here. Here that it flowed profuse. So where it goes, it has gone and settled somewhere in the darkness, its black sides. Atha esya urdhva, it is in the, so it goes, Om is indeed the flower, those waters are the nectars. Again it is derived from that and it is accumulated in that, in the jnanam. Teva ete guhya adesha edat brahmabhyatapam astasya abhitaptasya yashastejah indriyam vidyamannadya rasoja ajayata. They which are verily these secret injunctions of heated up in Om, where from the absolute jnanam it is taken, from that which is heated up and issued the juice in the form of fame, lustre, vigor, and this of organs and strength and the eatable food. In everything the result is that. Even when you derive the results from the other Rashmis, whether it is in the Urdhva Rashmi also, is that why the difference is this, that from the Urdhva Rashmi, the vigor, the lustre, the fame and the strength and the eatable food will be totally, absolutely pure from the Omkara, and from the others from the different flowers. That's all. Depending upon from which juice you are deriving the honey out of it. So from whichever juice you are deriving that, here it is the Om, the Pushpa as Omkara. From the Om it is being derived, so naturally, automatically what happened? Your lustre, your fame, your vigor of the organs, your eatable food, everything what is happening, everything is absolute jnana. Is how it is to be understood. So in the meditation, what one has to do is that from the Omkara, deriving that's why meditating on Om, we have done this earlier, we will be further doing it on that, meditating on Om has to be done. So in meditate, tapaha, tapam, that is why tapasya, from that the rasa has to be derived. From the Omkara, Pushpa of the Om, you derive the absolute jnanam by the process of renunciation. How the deriving of the honey can be taken from the Pushpa? By renouncing everything else. Through the status of tapasya, this I have explained in detail number of times. that like a bee doing a tapasya, it's absolute with absolute intention, with a good intention, with tapasya, with absolute jnanam, with absolute precision, just one point, absolute precision and one pointedness, ekagra chitta, with absolute one ekagra chitta, and also the seva should be sakama, not sakama karma, it has to be a nishkama karma. The bee deriving the honey from the pushpa is the nishkama karma, because it doesn't want to derive, it doesn't want to enjoy the results of it. It's called the nishkama karma. Sakama karma should not be there. So through ekagra chitta, through nishkama karma, through absolute tapasya, when it is derived, automatically that is known as the tapasya, and the result of the tapasya automatically goes to, and it becomes the renunciation also. It becomes the renunciation, and the result of the tapasya directly goes to the absolute jnanam in you, is called the devatas getting it in the Urdhva-rashmi. So through the tapasya, through the tapa, what happens, even though there are experimental experiences and experiences, attachment and attractions in the Kundalini area where it is necessary to execute certain karmas, now when that renunciation takes place, automatically it becomes lighter. Deriving the Urdhva-rashmi is deriving the jnanam from that, reaches the absolute jnanam, which is known as, who are known as devatas. There also, in the devata also, there are fame, lustre, vigor of organs, and the strength and the eatable food, everything is there. But they are of absolutely based on the absolute jnanam, and so there is a difference. Even though they have all this, they are from the absolute jnanam. So the differentiation, because the result of the result that is derived out of the karma will be based on the characteristics of the karma, the color of the karma that you have executed. Tadyaksharam attad adityamabido ashrayattadva etatyetadadyasya madhye shobhata iva. Where is this jnana, the absolute jnanam that you have derived from the Kundalini, and taking to the absolute jnanam? Where does it go? It goes flowed profusely, settled on the side of the sun. That indeed is which is this seems to stir inside the sun. Even though it goes into the sun, what happens? It creates a stirring effect in the total knowledge that you have derived from the east, west, south, north, and all that accumulated black, red, and all those colors, white, red, white, and the black, and these colors we have explained, and these colors, when this jnanam is taken through the Rashmis, what happens? It has got a stirring effect in that Omkar, through that deriving the results out of the Omkara, the deriving energy out of the Omkara, deriving the karma bhala of the Omkara. It directly goes into the sun where the absolute jnanam is there, and create a stirring effect. It gives a absolute stirring of everything together, stirring effect. That is called the acceleration of the rites there. This accelerates the function. That is what is accelerating the function of each and every color, each and every jnanam derived through various processes into the sun as the absolute jnanam and the brightness. So this is how it functions. Sate evam ete rasanam rasa vedahe rasastesham ete rasastani va etanyam amrutanam amrutani vedaha hyam amrutastesham etanyamrutani iti panchamaha khandaha samaptam. Te eva etane rasana rasa vedahi. They that are such are the juices of the juices. Rasa vedahi rasastesha eti rasastani va etan anyam amrutan an amrutani. From the amrita to the amrita, rasa to rasa, that means juices of the Vedas, which are of the juices of them that are the juices. These, they are things of such, are indeed the nectars of nectars, amrita, amrdani, nectars are nectars. The Vedas are the nectars. Vedas are the nectars of them. They are the nectars. Everything from the Vedic science. Everything is derived from the Vedas. So ultimately, is concluding all the jnanam that you have derived is from the Vedas, from the Vedic science, from the Vedas that is derived and taken into the absolute jnanam. The results of everything. Gradually, what happens one by one, each and every jnanam is derived in order to experiment and experience each and every karma and renounce them, and afterwards knowing that through each and every Vedic science you have executed certain karmas and results. Now you ultimately go into the totality where you create a stirring effect of the total jnanam through the Urdhva and ultimately reaches the rasa from the rasa, that the rasas that you have collected, that accumulated jnanam that you have collected from various sources in various ways and various methods in the absolute jnanam. There are so many jnanam there, jnanas there, in different methods and different ways this jnanam has been derived at. But this derivation of the jnanas, when a stirring effect is created, the whole jnanam is put into one and then stirred. Out of that, the juices of juice has been taken and accumulated in the middle is what called the jnanam of the total Vedas. So this has to be derived, is what he says. Through the tapa, only way is that identifying this and taking this only will take you towards the absolute renounced status, as well as not only the renounced status but also towards the absolute jnanam. This is derived. Tadyat. Then now we go to the section 6. In section 6 he explains about the Tadyat Prathamam Amritam. Now everything has become Amritam. We were talking about the honey so far, the result oriented function was there. Now we have come to, we derived a stirring effect and then has created the Amritam. Now he will always talk about the Amritam. Tadyat Prathamam Amritam Tadvasavaha Upajivanya Agninam Mukhena Navaihi Devaha Ashnantina Pibatti Tadeva Amritam Drishtva Tripyayanti. Tadyat. Therefore, through. Now what happens? This jnanam, this rasa of rasa, this amritam that we have, that what is amritam? Amrita is again a jnanam. The jnanam of the amritatvam, that there is no death, there is only dissolution, dilution and dissolution. There's nothing called death. So the amritatvam, after knowledge, what do you derive out of knowledge? From the knowledge we derive amritatvam, that there is no death. Who doesn't have death? What is amritatvam? That what is the knowledge that we get? Tat prathamam amritatvam. Here prathamam amritatvam, dvitiya amritatvam, tritiya amritatvam, chaturtha amritatvam, panchama amritatvam. There are 5 amritatvam. He has divided into 5 amrita. Prathama amritatvam or dvitiya amritatvam, whatever amritatvam it is, that amritatvam is that identification of the amrita, no death. Who has the no death experience? Who has the no death knowledge? The one who doesn't have any attraction and attachment towards the objective experiences and pleasures. Those are which are temporary and they only will die. When we do not have any of these attractions and attachments, we do not die. What is dying? It is not we who are dying. It is the mind which has got these desires are the ones which is dying. The desires die. The mind who has got the desires die. It is not the aham that is dying. It is not the atma that is dying. But even though we call that I am dying, doesn't mean that I am dying. Those which are in me is dying. Those which are in me, which are temporary, which is not necessary to me, is dying. We call it as death, because it is permanently removed. Because in one experience, when it is permanently removed, this is known as the death. So dying takes place. That means mritatvam takes place. Mrita means a dead body. We call it as a dead body. Mrita sharira. A sharira which has died. Mritam. Which doesn't have any activity, which cannot function, which cannot do anything, is called a dead body. If amritattvam happens to the Atma, if amritattvam happens to the mind is like the dead body, the mind cannot function, the mind will not function, mind will not create any results, mind will not generate any action or reaction or inaction and unaction. So nothing that is like a dead body. Mrita sharira, mrita mana, mrita indriya. These are all mritam. So when these mrita, the ones which are dying, diable, the ones which are diable only will die. The one which will have mritam only will die. The one which will not have the mritam will not die. Who are those which doesn't have the mritam? The one who doesn't have any attachment, attraction, who knows, who lives in the dharmam, who lives in the truth, in the satyam and dharmam, is the one which doesn't die. Because satyam and dharmam is that which is the existence. The one is similar to the existence or attached to the existence, or one is that part of the existence, will never die, because that is the existence. How existence can die? Existence cannot die. We cannot call it as death of existence. No. It is not. It will not be, correct as far as the thing concerned. That which is existing cannot die. Existing is that. What is that? Amrtatvam. That which is existing is what? Truth. That what is existing is Brahman. That what is existing is the Atma, which cannot die. Why? Because it has not attached itself to any of the results of the karma. It has not enjoyed any of these results. The one who has enjoyed the results only will die. Why? Because the results will die. When the result die, when a person is dependent on the results of desire, when a person is dependent on the results of the attachment, attraction, desire, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, they die. When they die, he also die. Why? Because he is dependent on that. The he here is the sharira and mana. He is the one who is dependent on that. So whoever is dependent, now when we take about in principle, whoever is dependent on those temporary objective experimental experiences has got death. Clear? Is it not? We derive the result out of it like this. The one who is not attached to those which are experimental experiences of the temporary objective pleasures and experiences will not die. Why? Because they are the existence. They are not depending on those which are temporary, tatkalikam. Temporary, which is tatkalika, which is now it is there, when now it is not there. So what happens? So through the negation, the principle of madhyama of the tapasya, through the madhyama of the dhyanam, through the mediation of dhyanam, through the mediation of tapasya, the detachment of those have to be taken place. This is why the Maharishis have explained it as naiti, naiti, neti, neti. So the one who has understood these principles of the neti need not to go into that dhyanam and tapasya, and they become the existence. The one who doesn't have anything to be removed from them, the one who doesn't have anything to be removed, to be understood as neti, naiti, the one who doesn't have anything that is attached to it, attracted to it, or desired to it, or it doesn't have anything other than the truth. What is the truth? That by itself is called the truth. That attached to that itself is fictitious, which is called attraction and attachment. So anything that is attached to the truth has to be removed, then only the asatya has to be removed from the satya, then the satya remains as the satya. So this asatya has to be removed, that which is imaginary, that which is only external, that which is only fictitious, that which is only emotional, that which is only collected from the indriyas with a half knowledge, that is only acted and aggrieved and received and absorbed and understood and living in the ignorance through the non-understanding of the mind. The function of the mind, the activity of the mind, they are all mritatvam, they are all dieable and they will die. They have no sustenance capacity. Why? Because they cannot sustain themselves in as being temporary. They are only like the bubbles in the water, which has been created because of the friction in the water by the turbulence of the water, turbulence of the air in the water. Because of the turbulence of the air in the water, all on a sudden, where it cannot find a source to let it out, and trying to get out of the water, the air trying to get out of the water is the reason why the bubbles have been created. In the process of the air in the turbulence, the air trying to get out of water is how the bubbles are created, and those bubbles will explode under pressure of the atmosphere. In the same manner, those turbulence, which are the turbulence, that attractions and attachment in the existence, what happens? There are so many things happening in the existence. So when so many things are happening, when the Jivatma is entangled with so many things, it has got a turbulence, and the momentum of the mind and the indriyas with the emotions give a stir to it, and those emotions and the desires, when it is attracted to the Jivatma which is already in the turbulence, will create try to escape from that. The Jivatma trying to escape from that will create those bubbles, and they get broken by the pressure of existence, is called death. Death. How the bubble has been created? From where? Bubble which has got nothing. There are no emotion, you see. The bubbles are what? Emptiness, there is empty. What is called emptiness here in the bubble? The emptiness in the bubble means that there is no water there, there is no air, there is a vacuum. You see, that's why the bubble has been created. There is a vacuum. So, what do you mean by vacuum? That there are no Panchabhutas, there are no Panchendriyas, there are no Panchapranas there, there are no principle. The existence is not there. When the existence is not there in the bubble, this will get crushed by the pressure of the existence, is called death. When the Sharira and the Mana is enjoying in the turbulence and creating themselves as a bubble with the emotions and attachments and attractions as beautiful, they survive for some time with absolute beauty above the Panchabhutas, will get crushed by the existence of pressure of the existence. Why? Because this has nothing and it has no place. The one which has got nothing has no place in the existence to live. The water bubble does have nothing, no gunas in that, so it has no right to live, is why under that pressure the bubble breaks. So the death takes place. Again it creates. That Sharira and Mana which has broken, which has got death. That's what is called death. So when the Sharira and Mana dies, again it takes birth. Till the time it doesn't take birth, it keeps on taking birth. When can it doesn't take birth? That it doesn't get attracted to the turbulence of the air in the water. The water should flow along with the air. When it becomes the waves, it becomes a part of the water. Instead of bubbles, it has to become a wave of the water. The wave is nothing but water. Even though it looks to be different, They are the water. They are with existence. That Jivatma who is under tapasya, even though based on the Jivatma principle, it is under pressure and it has created a wave, but wave has determined not to go out of the water, is called tapasya, remaining with the dhyanam and tapasya. So with all the pressure, with all the obstacles, with all the pressures applied on that, only thing that could be done to that particular wave is only to wave from on the water without detaching itself from the water, traveling through the water from one end to the other end, but ultimately coming back to the water is called Dhyanam Samadhi. One is the same principle as applied in a bubble, and when it is applied, the same principle as applied in a Jivatma who has uplifted himself by the non-attachment. Why? Waves have no attachments. The waves have no attachment. Wave only travels. Being in the superficial area or the surface of the water, it has got the impact of the wind and it creates a wave. Or the tilt, whatever takes place to the existence in the Bhumi when it is traveling and on its own axis rotating, so it has got a movement. So the surface, the waves are created. But wave is not separated from the wave, doesn't separate from the water. As the waves do not separate from the water, remains in the water, even though for the onlookers it appears to be a wave which is a turbulence, but the wave as it is doesn't have any turbulence in the wave. The turbulence is seen only for the people, onlookers. But in the wave doesn't have a turbulence because wave itself is water. Dhyanam, Samadhi, and a Maharishi or a Tapasi Jnani, when he is in the Tapasya, even though he looks to be a Jivatma, he looks to be in the world of pluralities or in the world of in the universe, but he himself, even though it appears to be he is in the Jiva, but he himself doesn't have any detachment. He doesn't have any attraction towards it. So he himself is attached to that, permanently attached to that which is permanent, which is known as existence. So he is with the existence. The one who is with the existence doesn't die. Waves have never died. Have you heard the waves have died? Waves never die. Bubbles die. Water bubbles die. They go, they vanish. But the wave never dies. Why? Because it is in the Samadhi and the Dhyana. So when you Amrtatvam, what I am trying to tell you is that what is Amrtatvam? This is Amrtatvam. So a Jivatma can live as a bubble, a Jivatma can live as a wave. Now prefer whichever you want. To be a bubble is easier because there is enjoyment. Anywhere you can create these bubbles. Yes. So choice is yours, he says. The way you want to come up and then go out. Or you remain firm always. After some time what happens? This, that, what is there in the always, this, the waves which are constantly blowing, which are constantly travelling, they, because of their Dhyanam and Samadhi, at one point of time, they go to the middle of the sea. It's not necessary that it has to be always here. While travelling, it keeps on shifting, go to the middle and also go down. The ones who have gone down, they never come up again. Where absolute Jnanam attains, they attain the Parabrahman. So in order to attain the Parabrahman, this happens. During the turbulence, this takes place and they go. Because when it is turned, automatically this also goes down. The ones who have gone down and up to a certain limit, they do not come up. Same way, the one Jivatma who has gone up to a certain limit through the Tapasya and through the Dhyanam, after fifth layer, they don't come back. Up to the fifth layer only they will come back and take the rebirth. Above the fifth layer they take reincarnation, no doubt about it, as the wave. But a reincarnation, again on the sixth and seventh layer, they do not come up. They go into the depths of the existence. they go into the depths of the Amrtatvam, they go into the depth of the absolute Jnanam, they go into the depth of the Parabrahman. It's called Mritatvam and Amrtatvam. Mrita, Marana, Mritya, Mritam happens only those which are attached to those temporary, that which will die. Those are attached to that. The ones which are attached to Amrtatvam will never die. Atma is attached to Amrtatvam, which doesn't enjoy any of these things. Any of the objective principles, they are all temporary. All the objects are temporary. All the objects. That what is beyond you, that which is outside you, that which is not you, is all temporary. The you is that the all-pervading Brahman. That's what is called the permanency. So the one who is attached to the permanency is permanent. The one who is attached to temporariness is always temporary. That's all. The one who are temporary dies. Sharira being the Panchabhutas, after the execution of karmas, the necessity is over. So the Atma rejects the Sharira. When Atma rejects the Sharira, Sharira dies. That's what I said. Rejecting. That means from the existence, when the pressure is there, the bubble is broken, is called rejection of Sharira, because it's no more necessary. Bubble is no more necessary. It is only during the turbulence it has happened. That's all. Got attracted to it. So these are the principles of the Mritatvam. So be careful when one doesn't die. One need not to die. One will not die when he is attached to the Amrtatvam, those principles of Amrtatvam. This Jnanam has to be absorbed. For that, when that Jnanam comes, automatically the renunciation is much easier. For that, many of these renunciations have to be taken place in the renunciation process. In the Jnanam, through the Jnanam, when the renunciation is done, the Amrtatvam automatically takes place in one. This has to be clearly understood, then only one can get the liberation in the right manner. So that Amrtatvam through Tadyat Prathamam Amrtatvam Tadvasava Upajivan Agninam Mukhena Navai Devaha Ashnantina Pibanti Tadeva Amritam Drishtva Triptayanti. So through the fire, here what happens through the fire, which is the chief among them, the Vasus, the first ones, the Vasus enjoy that which are the first nectar among these. The gods certainly do not eat and drink, they become contented. Pibante tad eva amritam. Pibante tad eva amritam. Oh, the devas drink the amritam. Yes. How they enjoy? They drink the amritam. Drishtva tripyanti. How is it happening? That which is oblated, the Devatas in us. Who is the Devata? Devata is the self only, in the Atma only. That Devata, the first, initially let me start from the beginning. Initially those oblations that is done, as I explained to you, that Ashtavasus, the first Amrtatvam is enjoyed by the Ashtavasus. That means in the initial stages of our life, where a beginning of those that were been oblated, Surya Namaskaram, starting from that, the oblation that has been done, you create an Amrtatvam there. There are lots of renunciation takes place at that point of time. So the occupation of Ashtavasus takes place in you. when the occupation of Ashtavasus takes place in you, the enjoyment of the oblation that has been done, that means the renunciation that you have done at that point of time, is enjoyed by the Ashtavasus, who are the Prathama Amrutam. That's called the Prathama Amrutam. What is the Prathama Amrutam? From the beginning stage of the life, you should be living. You should be living in the dharmic way of life, in the dharmic way of living. That's what we said in the beginning of life, where we do the oblation to the Ashtavasus. So when we start doing that oblation to the Ashtavasus in the beginning of life, this is called the Prathama Amrutatvam. What is that Prathama Amrutatvam? That there will be no more Balyam. Prathama Amrutatvam, Amrita. What is that Balyam? No more Balyam, Amrita. He will never be born again. Is another meaning of it. Or the result of that, Amrutatvam, the result of that is Amrutatvam in the initial stages, whatever Amrita that has been taken, Amrutatvam that has been taken. That means he has acquired that knowledge of the absolute Jnanam in the initial stages at that point of time, where in place of he playing with the toys as a bala, he plays, instead of playing with the toys, he identifies the toys are nothing but to play with. They are not the truth. Identifying the Brahman, the brightness of the sun in the beginning, morning, early morning, which has got the color of red, which is meant for activity, which is for execution of karmas, which is meant for experimental experience of the karmas in the universe. As a brahmachari, I attain that color of the red from the sunlight for the purpose of execution of karmas and exhausting them, not for enjoying them. As a brahmachari, being a brahmachari, I pray to that morning the Ashtavasus, praying in the sense that I do the samadhi or the dhyanam on that. When I have the dhyanam on that, live dharmically in those that era of mine in the initial part of my life. That means initial understanding of the jnanam is called initial part of life. Initial understanding of jnanam, when I do agree to that, what happens? That jnanam will go to amrita, that understanding of the amrtatvam will go to the ashtavasus in me, where I overcome the balyavastha, jnanam of the balyavastha to the rudram. From the beginning of the jnanam, I no more go into that beginning of the jnanam. So the first amrtatvam takes place. I come to the rudram. From when the first amrtatvam takes place with the ashtavasus, then only one comes to rudram. If one doesn't come out of the ashtavasus amrtatvam, he keeps on taking birth only in the status of the ashtavasus amrtatvam. He will never be promoted to, he can never go to the experience of experiencing the rudram. How can he? He has to renounce this status. When the renunciation of this status takes place, only he will reach the amrtatvam of the result of the amrtatvam only will be enjoyed by the ashtavasus that is established in you. That those ashtavasus will have to enjoy that amrtatvam. Oblation has to be accepted by them. The devatas in you, he says. So this is the principle of the. Otherwise, what happens? That is why some people are born again in the same experience. They have never come back to. They have never come to Rudra Avastha. They are still that there only, in that Prathama Avastha only. There are 5 stages. In that 5 stages, one has to cross. You take a number of janmas in each stage, you will keep on taking birth till you overcome that avastha. You will be taking birth only in that state. Having overcome the ashtavasus, having enjoyed the amrtatvam by the ashtavasus in you, you will be again taking birth in the rudra avasthas, where in order to experiment and experience that. And having experimented and experience in that, then you go into the Adityas. then beyond that. So these avasthas have to be crossed through. This amrtatvam has to be. Otherwise, what happens? Every time that avastha is mrtatvam, dies. That which dies again is born. That which is born will die. So the birth should not take place. So what happens? When this jnanam takes place, what happened? The birth doesn't take place. The enjoyment. Now what happened? Here he says that tad savaha, that means ashtavasus, tad swaha, tad vasaha, upajivanyanya agnaha mukhena, agni mukhena. The oblations in the initial stages have to be done to the Agni, that is called the Rigveda principle. The Rigvedic principle are Agni principles, because from the Agni, Rigvedic principles are from the Agni. The medium is Agni. The oblation has to be done to the Agni. The Yajna has to be done to the Agni in the morning. That means in the beginning stages of our life, all the experiences have to be burnt, have to be put to the Agni. It has to go to the Agni in the sense also Vaishwanaram has to be converted into the Vaishwanaram to survive in the status of the Rudram. So for that, as I told you, nothing is removed from the world, nothing is eliminated, they are all diluted. So the experiments of the experimental experience of the Balyam, experimental experience of the Balyam here, what I mean is not by age. Even at the age of 70, one is Bala, Balyam, in the status of knowing the knowledge. They are at the stage of class 1, KG, kindergartens. That's called the Balyam. It's not by age, by knowledge. So if a person is in that status, he has to understand that, then he can travel towards the Amrita. So what happens? He became Amrita in the Balyam. He never dies in the Balyam. In the sense, he never have the death of that. That means he is not born also. When he is not dead, he is not born. So the stage of Prathama Jnanam has to be, Amrtatvam has to be done. So what happens here? He says that the fire which is the chief here, the fire is the oblation is done into the fire. Everything has to be, oblation has to be done to the fire. Yajnam has to be done to do in the mornings. That's why the yajnas are mostly done only in the morning, early morning. The Rigveda mantra. With the Rigveda mantra, all the yajnas are done in the morning. There are yajnas done throughout also, 24 hours. There are yajnas done for a number of days, months continuously. They are all different yajnas for different purposes. But here the Ashtavas, for the purpose of the Ashtavasus, for overcoming this and attaining the jnanam of that, from the Balya Avastha, these yajna has to be done in the morning. That means yajna has to be done in the beginning stages of the life. The beginning stages of life itself, that one has to control, one has to know, one has to understand the principles of the dharmic way of living. That means to be living as in the brahmacharyatvam. In short, when we concise everything, to live in the brahmacharyatvam in the initial stages of life and to oblate those results of the experimental experience is called submitting to the Agni through the Rigvedic principle and attaining the Amrtatvam of that. This has to be first attained, is called the Prathama Amrtatvam. And when that is done, what happens? The Ashtavasus enjoy the results of the drink, the nectar of that Amrita. The gods certainly do not eat or drink, but they become contented by seeing this very nectar, is the meaning that is written. Drishtva triptayanti. By seeing it, drishtva triptayanti. By seeing it, they are happy. What does it mean? The meaning is that when we do the oblation, that the negations have been done by the Antaratma, by the Mana, by the Indriyas. In me, what happens? I am oblating all those what is not necessary. and renouncing everything necessary, the Atma is only attaining they are not enjoying the results of that. They are not taking any of those experimental experiences. By drishtva, witnessing them, the Atma get the triptayanti. Is why the Atma is not affected by any of the karmas done by you. Many people ask, no, if I am doing the karma, why Atma is not affected by that? Because Atma doesn't have a mind, Atma doesn't have indriyas, Atma doesn't have those organs in them to enjoy the pleasures of the experimental experience or experience of the mind and the indriyas. When they do not have these instruments, but they have an instrument to enjoy, they have a different way of enjoyment. That's why the devatas are enjoyed. So they say that when you do the yajna, they pour all those things, and the result of that is enjoyed. The juice of that, the rasa of that ajayate, that rasa of that is enjoyed by the devatas, they say. What is that rasa? Rasa is that which is the gist of that. What is that you oblated? That the neti, that whatever is possible by naiti is oblated. All the experimental experience have been oblated. Aham samarpayami, sarvasvam samarpayami, shariram samarpayami, manam samarpayami, indriyam samarpayami is the meaning of the gridam samarpayami, the dudam samarpayami, and dhanyam samarpayami, dhanam samarpayami. What does it mean? All those my desires, my attachments and attraction, samarpayami. That's all. When you convert it. So when you do that samarpana, the result of that rasa of that which is burned, which is put into the Agni, the Atma, my Atma is Devata. Who is the Devata? My Atma is the Devata. Who is enjoying? Atma is enjoying. How? Not by enjoying the object as it is, but witnessing that the mana and indriyas are renouncing them, is happy. This is called consuming the result of the yajna bhala, yoga bhala, yaga bhala, yajna bhala and all that. That's all. This is how they are enjoyed. So they say that the smoke is enjoyed by the devatas, smell is enjoyed by the devatas. How can the smell be enjoyed? The meaning is that, principle behind is that the Atma is a witness. So when you execute a good karma, the Atma witnesses. When you execute a bad karma, also Atma witnesses. When the Atma is witnessing the bad karma being executed by the mind and indriyas, the Atma allows the mind and indriya to continue the same for number of janmas, till the mind and indriyas are oblating them and coming out of it. Then the result of it is witnessed by the drishtva, triptayanti, tripti. Then the Atma samtripti, we say that, no? We call it as Atma samtripti. Otherwise, Atma samtripti. When Atma samtripti comes, you are saved from that status to the next status. The Atma never allows the mind and indriyas to be born in that status again, when it is born again. Because Atma has witnessed that the mana and the indriyas have renounced them already. So I don't have to take them again. It being the same Atma being born again, it exactly knows where the mind and indriyas has to be placed. Let me put it in that calculatively. Even though physically it is not happening like that. But I'm just putting it like that. So that I know, yes, he has passed class 10, I know, so I place him in 11. If he has not passed class 10, he has failed, I will definitely put him in class 10. In simple way. That's all. This is done by me. Who? The one who is a witness. He is drishtva driptayante. He is not executing the class 10 examination. He is not enjoying it. The one who is doing it, he is enjoying it. The moment he passes out of the experimental experience of studying in class 10, he passes out the examination knowing that what is taught in class 10, he derives the jnanam out of it and he says, I know everything. Having known everything, he passes out from there and he goes to the next. When he renounces, that means he is oblating everything. Then when he knew everything, when everything is known in class 10, it is not necessary for him to be in class 10. That when it is seen by me, who is the one who is directing him, is triptayante. Drishtva triptayante. I am not studying class 10. Someone else is studying class 10, but I am the one who is the director of that. I am drishtva triptayante. By looking at it, I am happy. He has done it. He has passed. Now my job is that to put him in next. No more in this. Suppose had he not done it, I am not happy. Asamtrapti in me. Atma asamtrapti. So I will put him there only. Is something like that. Jiva is done like that. So to overcome that, what happens? I have to do the oblation of that, renunciation of that in the early stages of that. So prathama amritam, in this amritam has to be taken place. That means I am no more born in this place again, is called amrutatvam. Then only I can go to the next. Is how the mritatvam and amrutatvam take place in our life also. Each and every small experience, I keep on doing a particular bad karma repeatedly. Never overcome that. Even though having known it, I don't overcome that. I don't try to find out a methodology to renounce that. He will be born again and again, doing the same thing. You know that? So many repetitions are there in our life from the past Janma and this Janma. So many similarities. Why? Because you are repeating the same thing. When you are repeating the same thing, Atma Drishtanti. Atma is witnessing. We also say that somebody is watching. Who is that somebody? I am watching what I am doing. That is somebody. When I am watching that, he is witnessing everything. He doesn't interfere. Atma doesn't interfere. Paramatma doesn't interfere. He lets you do it. He is only Drishtva Triptayante. By witnessing only he is enjoying. So he looks at that what is being done. When it is not being exhausted, when it is not being oblated, when it is not being completed. That's why whatever you bring, there is a principle in the yajna. For the purpose of yajna, if so you bring 10 liters of milk, till the last drop of it you have to pour it. You cannot say, okay, let us keep a half kilo today, I need 2 cups of tea after this yajna because it's very tedious. So I don't have other milk, let me keep it from this. Finished. Now instead of this half liter that you have taken from here, will be multiplied into 12 liters because 1 and 2 is there, 12. It will become 12 liters in the next Janma. You have to provide it, you see. You understood? So whatever has been brought for the yajna has to be, that's a principle, jo bhi laya na. Up to the ghee and all that, they take with the finger, even the last drop. Even if you burn your finger, doesn't matter. You must put it, they say. Principle is not that burning the ghee. The ghee should be burnt there, you see. Unnecessarily keeping yourself alive. Means that what you are renouncing should be totally renounced. It should not be trying to keep it back in the sense. That's called oblation. That's called the absolute, with absolute faith, absolute jnanam, for the purpose, not for any achievement, It's for renouncing it, that again, diluting that what is not there, what is not necessary for me in the jnanam, to allowing the witnessing. So the Atma gets some tripti out of it. This is the way the gods doesn't. That's why they say that gods do not eat and drink. God is he who has no gunas in him. God is he who lives only dharmically, only dharmam and satyam is there. Where there is only dharmam and satyam, where there are no gunas there, they are known as the God. In you, if you create this, you are the God. That is called the God in you. See, that God in you is enjoying or triptanti, getting the samtripti of the other mind and indriyas, renouncing everything, he gets the satisfaction. So he brings amrtatvam to that status, is what is called the Ashtavasus being the happier here, and they say that they become contented by seeing the very nectar. This is they become contented by seeing, by perceiving, by feeling through all the organs. This very nectar that has been spoken of as appearing red for the to see is used in the sense of experiencing through all the organs. Fame is realized through the ear. Lustrous appearance is an object of eye. Vigor of the organ is inferable from the acts of perceiving the objects. Strength is physical enthusiasm and liveliness. Eatable food is that which is being enjoyed every day, becomes the cause of sustaining the body. The juice is certainly all that consists of these by seeing which are become contented, that the gods become contented by seeing them. Having become settled in the sun, they are free from the defects of the bad smell, etc. of the body and organs. They have their own organs. In the sense, Atma has its own organ. In the sense, in order to have tripti for the Atma, there should be some organ in the Atma. It's an imagination. So the Atma should have. Atma has a set of organs by itself, which can enjoy only those to be witnessing. In order to witness, there has to be, some organs there. So witnessing is the satisfaction for them. Witnessing is the perseverance capacity in them. That means they will not see anything wrong. They will see only right. Is called the perseverance capacity. The absolute perseverance and perception of them is that the Atma can see, the Atma will see the right. Atma can have discrimination of right and wrong. It will not accept anything by manipulation. No. If it is wrong, wrong. It is understood wrong. If it is right, it is understood right. So that capacity the Atma has got is why that we are taken rebirth again. Because when it is witnessing, which is not right, whatever is said and done, whatever is your understanding, your function, it doesn't make any difference for Atma, and this has been there from the inception of the Jivatma, from the inception of the Atma, not today. That what is there, the Atma is that the same which is there thousands of years ago or few crores of years ago. And the Atma will be the same even after few crores of years. It doesn't change. It's only the pattern of mind and indriyas will change depending upon the circumstances due by the change in the kala and samaya, in the era of time and deviation of the place and time. By the place and time, the changes that happens is only for the mind and indriyas, not for the Atma. Atma, whether it is here or somewhere else, it's all the same. There is no difference. So, the function of the mind and indriyas should be, according to the Atma Sakshatkaram, whether you are in whichever era you are, whichever time you are, whichever kala you are, it doesn't make any difference. Whether you are here or in the jungle or in the sea or in the North Pole or in any other continent, your way of function should not change. A tapasvi, whether he is in Himalayas or whether he is in the city or whether he is in the middle of the sea or whether he is in different continent and countries, his function is same. Atma Sakshatkaram and Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, that's all. There is no difference in that. And he is not affected by Kala Desha. He is not affected by Kala Desha. The one should not get affected by Kala Desha, because that is the nature of the Atma. That's nature, Prakriti of the Atma. Prakriti of the Mana and the Indriyas and the Sharira is only connected with the Kala Desha. Kala Desha is only meant for that. So when you are doing experimental experience, then only Kala Desha is important. When you are doing the experienced experience, or doing Dhyanam and Tapasya and Samadhi and oblation and the renunciation, Kala Desha is not at all applicable to you. Wherever you are, whatever you are the same. That steadiness, that oneness, that's called the status that you are to be appearing. Not that I am here like this, after some time I am like that, and somewhere else I am someone else, I'm somewhere else someone else. It's all, creating clouds in the Atma, creating clouds in the mind, the fictitious mind creating different identities at different places, Kala Desha, and making yourself a fool in order to be born again. That oblation is never taking place, renunciation is not taking place. Atma is witnessing this. Remember this. It's not that I can do anything what I like, my mind likes, my Indriyas like. Atma is witnessing. Nothing. What happens then? Let him witness. Why? Let him witness. You have to be born again in the same circumstances to experimental experiences till the Atma Samtripti. Till the Atma Samtripti is happening, it doesn't get the liberation from the Janana Marana. The Antakarana doesn't get the liberation from the Janana Marana. So in order to get the liberation of the Atma, it has to be done. Then only the Atma Samtripti will take place. By doing the Tarpana in the river, or doing the, Shraddha Karma in Badrinath, I have also done. Okay. By doing the Shraddha Karma, I have also done it, yes, because of the ritual. That's the society when we live, we have to do certain things. So Shraddha Karma in the Badrinath will not save any Atma by providing all these things, because nobody can put rice and Karpuram in the Atma and make him happy. Yes. It's not possible. Shraddha is not meant for that at all. Shraddha is only meant for the Shraddha that we are offering to that. For that, these rituals have been created only for the purpose of that, so that you give importance to that. That can be done sitting at home also, if one is sincere and honest. But if it is not, one is not sincere and honest, even if you do it in Badrinath, it's the same effect. Atma cannot be relieved of any of these things. Once an experiment is done by that individual who was living, who was experimenting and experiencing, he has to undergo that. Any amount of Shraddham you do, with the gold putting inside that, or whatever it is, whatever you do, nothing happens. Many of them offer, every year we have. That's only for, that remembering the ancestors is very important. Why? Because that, as I told you in Acharam, that you see, what is the importance of remembering them? To modulate our characteristics in that. No, we have to give importance to our ancestors. I have to respect my father. I have to respect the God. When we have respect to the God and Father, what happens? I commit less mistakes. Let me put it that way. Or I don't commit mistakes. No. What will people talk about my father? Suppose in a village, everybody says, that man was very nice. When he was living, he had done a lot of help to the people, and he was very good, good man, knowledgeable person. This name was there. If the son goes just opposite to his activities, oh my God, the son belonging to that man. Now, whom are they really accusing? The good man, whom they have called as a good man, they are accusing him. You see, you are dragging him also into this, is it not? That they are, okay, he was a good man, but still what happens? He is being dragged, oh, so and so's son, and doing this. So that's why in Acharam, if you remember, I don't know whether you remember, in Acharam I have told that why we have to do Shraddha, is that, no? We think of that goodness of that man. Now what happens? This son who will do, at least, no, he will be conscious about it when he thinks about it. He will be conscious, at least he should. That's why he is known as the Putraha. Om Trayate iti Putraha. So he will think of that. And then, no, my father's name gets spoiled if I do that. So I should not do. My grandfather's name will get tarnished if I do that. Better not to do it. Don't go for that. My family name will get spoiled by that. Kyo karenge aisa? Simple thing. A man who is born in the pujari's house, tomorrow he gets a license to do a business of a liquor shop. Simple thing. It's happening, na? He gets a license to do liquor shop where he can do a business, earn money, good money. But a man who is of that nature, of have been brought up into different culture and era and time like that, dekho, my family's name, family, nobody has done this now. I will not sell the liquor and make money out of it. People say that, oh, you are a fool. When you are getting an opportunity to earn money, why don't you do that? Is generally people look at. But he says, no. This will spoil my ancestors' name, my family name. I can do some other business, some decent business. Business doesn't mean that to earn money only, and in any way. Earn money in a nice way, right way. I'm just telling an example. Okay. So he will not do the liquor business is because he will protect. That's called the Shraddha. This is Shraddha. This is the Shraddha, real Shraddha. When we think of our ancestors, we start working in the dharmic way of living. I have to protect that. This is called Acharam. This is why this has been created. But otherwise, the Atma, that is the fathers, will witness that what father has done, executed his karmas. Son's Atma will witness that what the son has done. The virtues that father has done, if he follows that, he will get the benefit of it. The virtues the father has done will not be automatically inherited by a stamp paper duty in that stamp paper to the other man. Okay, all my results of my good deeds, that what I have done in the world, may please be transmitted with effect from such and such to so and so, because I am retiring from this world. Will it happen? Cannot happen. So Atma is witnessing. Our own Atma is witnessing. So be careful about it. That's all. Why this knowledges are to be done? So that we have to be conscious that when I am doing wrong, do it consciously wrong, thinking that I am being witnessed and I am witnessing it, I am being witnessed, and I will have to be born or repeat the same karma till I execute it and exhaust it. This consciousness has to be there, is why I had been emphasizing all these points and repeating it number of times. Be conscious that you are being watched by your Atma, whatever you are doing. What you think right is not right. Please. What you think dharma is not dharmam. What has been told to you by the rituals, by the Maharishis, Tapasvis, Jnanis, by the Shruti, by the Punyatmas is called dharma. Not what you think as dharma. Has to be understood. Once you know this, then only your Atma will have the Tripti, Atma Samtripti. When your Atma Samtripti is done, fine, you are relieved from that. You have exhausted that life. You have exhausted that karma. You have got the karma mukti from that. You have exhausted that, that yajna from that. You go to the next, or you get the liberation if it is the last. This is the meaning of the the gods, or the Atma enjoying, or the gods enjoying, the God in you, the Devata in you is the meaning of it. Devata is where? Devata, when you take the universe, Devata is that which is above, who is enjoying the Urdhva Rashmi, who are only doing the dharmic way of living. That's called the Devatas. That's why we always say Devatas live up in the world. Up means where the Urdhva Rashmi is attaining the result of it. This is up. Urdhva Rashmi. From the Kundalini, after the experimental experiences are announced, it is awakened. That's called awakening. Awakening is that after the awareness, after experiencing, after experimenting, when it is exhausted, awakening takes place. When awakening takes place, then the yoga takes place through the yajna. Yoga takes place. Same thing happens outside you. From the universe, that happens. Then goes to the Paramatma, and same thing is happening inside you. In the Sukshma Rupa, in the Sthula Rupa, the same happenings are being repeated. This has been told to you in many occasions, in many instances, and many functions, that the same thing happens. Everything that's happening within the body is happening there outside the body. Sthulata and Sukshmata. So what happens? The vigor, luster, the fame is realized through the ear, he says. Fame. Naturally. From the words, from the talk, only the fame is heard, Somebody praising you is heard by the organ of the ear. Listening, by Shravanam. So this is fame. Shravanam takes you towards that the fame. So Shravanam, through that only the fame is identified. Now, the fame, what I mean to say is that here the praises of the people, the false praises can also be there. As far as the Jivatmas are concerned, there can be false praises, unwanted fame. It's not famous. There is no difference. Today, I think the fame doesn't have any importance. Today, what is the opposite of it? Notoriousness, The notoriousness is known as the fame. What a man, I say, underworld king. For an underworld person who is doing all sorts of rubbish, he is known as a king. Underworld king. Right? Is there fame? I'm not talking about that fame here. Upanishad doesn't discuss that fame. Here for the humanity, today in Kali Yuga, what happened? The fame is that the biggest thug will have the great. He's a very famous man. Why? Because you don't know, 10 murders he has done. Famous man. He has done so many robberies. Famous man. Nobody calls him notorious man. Only famous. That's not fame. Fame is what? What is fame? Here, what is the gods enjoy? Through their organ of ear, or the Shruti. We said that Upanishads have been the Shruti for the Maharishis after Tapasya, and they have written this. See, that's called fame. Those which are after renunciation of your status, yes, you glorify the Lord. Who are you glorifying? Who are you singing the glories of? Your Atma. Who is witnessing it? You can glorify only Him. When you glorify that God in you, that means, as I told you, whether it is you. Now, only the problem when it comes to us, only when I identify me as a small unit of separate unit, and the universe as a separate unit. No, it's the same thing, no? I say that's why I repeat number of times. Both are same, both are same, both are same. So what happened when you do oblation here? That Atma which is witnessing, which is the Paramatma, you are glorifying that Paramatma, whether it is there or whether it is here. The space outside and inside is same. It's not. Akasha is same. Prithvi is same. So since they are all same, the Paramatma and Atma is same. Glorification to your Atma is glorification to Paramatma. So when you are doing glorifying, it is to the Atma as well as the Paramatma. Whether you think of your own Atma or whether you think of Paramatma. We feel better when we think of Paramatma because it is supreme. So it's nice. No problem. You can. Because it's the same, one and the same. But this jnanam has to be there. That's it. That's what they say. Bhagavad Gita also say that. When you do these rituals, when you do these things, this jnanam has to be there. When I am doing the prayer to the Paramatma, you should understand that me being the unit of the Karma Yogi, I am glorifying the Atma which is the representation of the Paramatma or which is the same. This consciousness has to be there. I should not identify me as separate and my Atma as separate and the Paramatma as separate. I am the unit of the world. I am not a separate one, it is the one with that. So the actions that is happening in the space there is the action that is happening inside me. Has to be understood. Then we will understand these principles. So when I am listening to where, as I told you previously, when I talked about the notoriousness as a fame, we are individualizing the units and then we are listening to that. So there are negations there. Whereas here the fame and the vigor, what we call as, when the fame is that glorifying the Lord. Glorifying the Atma is that. When can we glorify? When do we glorify actually? Truly, it's not that just singing a bhajan or glorifying just like that. I don't mean that. Now when we are talking Upanishad, we should understand these things. We have to clearly discriminate these things. It's not a human being with a wrong mind and indriya, with emotion and attraction and attachment. Singing a bhajan is not glorifying. Glorifying is that from the antaratma, from the innermost of me, I am really surrender. This is called again Samarpana Bhava. When I have a true Samarpana Bhava, automatically the glories will automatically come. It's called glorifying. That glorifying is called fame, famous, fame. That fame is listened by me. Is called Shruti, is called Upanishad, is called Dharmic, Dharmam, is called the Vedic principles. This is called fame. Is fame through the ear, lustrous appearance in the object. Any lustre to the vision only it is taken. Lust. That's why yes, lustrous appearance is an object of the eye. Lust comes from the eye. When you look at things, then only you get the feeling of the lust in you. Even though the other indriyas are also listening, also can create, but maximum is done through for every activity. All indriyas are required, but everyone has got its own importance. So lust comes from the eye. When the eye look at it through the emotional satisfaction and dissatisfaction of the mind and indriyas, we get the lust, what we call it as the lower part of the activity in us, the lust. Where to have the atrakama, krodha, kama. Kamana. Kama means what? Kamana, a desirous look. It's called lustrous look. A desirous look, kamana is there. Kamana is that want to have it repeatedly is called kamana. I tasted the food, I want to have it more is called the kamana. So this lustrous through the eye is more visible, they say that, you see. So when you look at it, then only you feel like having it. When you see it, you feel like owning it. When you see it, you will feel like possessing it. When you see it, you feel like doing things like that. So it's called that appearance in the object. The appearance in the object is for a person who is ignorant. He looks at the object with his emotional and fictitious mind. The mind with the emotional attraction and attachment. See, it all depends upon the mind, how you look. When you look at something or someone, it is with your emotion you are looking at. It's not the eye is seeing the actual thing that is there in the object. That's why it is known as the object. The object is not the material that is kept there, or the person that is in front of you, or the garden in front of you. It is your emotion attached to it, how you color that object through your emotion and attraction and attachment and desire. You look at that object based on that. It's called the lustrous look. If the Atma is looking, so I am comparing the both. As I told you, Atma is witnessing. When Atma is witnessing, we said that when Atma is hearing, Shruti from the Upanishad is hearing. Jnanam it means. Same way when it looks, when the Drishtva, they said, no? When the Atma is witnessing, when he is looking at it, when absolutely pure Devatas, it becomes the absolute Devata. When it is looking at it, the lust towards the Jnanam takes place. The lust towards the Jnanam. It is not, even though we call it as a lust, because he is seeing it, he is Drishtva, seeing it, we call it as a lust. But what is that lust? The lust that which looks, which witnesses, which doesn't create any emotional disturbances, which doesn't create any mental actions, which creates only the absolute jnana. It's called that. The one who witnesses that, based on the perceiving of the objects. How you perceive the object. Strength in the physical enthusiasm and liveliness. Almost the same explanation goes to that also. And the same way, the food eatable, which gives the strength, vigor to the body, vigor to the devatas. In the vigor in the devatas are totally creating absolute jnana in continuity is called the vigor again. The vigor that is creating. That what is necessary for the universe is creating that, is the vigor from that. When a Maharishi, Tapasvi or a great Devata, that whatever he creates, whatever it is which creates, it's from the vigor of that. So that vigor is necessary for that. But when you take it in the normal human level, its total meaning is totally different. So the vigor, the food is enjoyed. Again, the enjoyment of the food is again based on the absolute annam. Here, the food is enjoyed for the taste, for fulfilling the hunger and thirst, and for mostly taste. Whereas the devatas enjoying you are doing the ahuti of the annam in the Agni and in the Yajnakuta, and they are receiving that annam in the form of what? In the form of the vibhuti, they are receiving the annam. Where they are not eating it, but they are drishtva triptayanti. Again, by looking at it, by seeing it, by perceiving it through all over, they are taking the annam. And for what? The annam is perceived by the devatas in them in order to create more annam. Is why they said that you must do the yajna for the Indra. So you must put annam, you must put this for Indra, you must put annam. It's very necessary. Why? Because Indra is the one who creates the Varsha, who creates the rain, is it? So Indra Puja is necessary for creating rain. The meaning is that it's not that Indra, somebody is sitting with a hose pipe there to pour water. Is by doing the Agnikunda, by oblating the annam here, by our annam here, by oblation, our own Antaratma or things like that, what will create? It will create the further process of the creation of the annam takes place. How? I told you this process earlier itself, how the annam comes. When the Vaishwanara increases in you and how Vaishwanara is converting the Annam in that. How the Annam is produced, we have already talked about it earlier at length, I think. That's how the Annam is created. So the Annam comes. So for the Annam that is oblated is went to the Devata in order to create. Is why this oblation is, once that is done, the Prathama Amritam of the Vaishwanara, Prathama Amritam of the Ashtavasus finished. We go to the next. Sa Etadeva. Okay, and this will 3, 6, 2 will take. Shambho Adi.